Hi, and welcome to this exciting and thrilling episode, which is going to be a reading of my article that has been the most successful on my publication, Cyberpower Telenoia on Medium. The article is titled, How I Certified with CompTIA Security Plus in 2023. This is part of the Professional Refinement web series of the podcast. So, to get started, I'm going to show the map, which I usually do with all of my episodes. So on this map, for those tuned in visually, you see we have three main headings. I'll be reading about the study time frame, the study materials, and live exam approach. All right, and under the study materials, we have the main objective. We have the book, the online audio, and the test audio. And within the book contents, this includes online flashcards and test questions, downloadable PDF versions, some video series, which explains the chapters, for example, and my interactions through ChatGPT-4 on the paid version in order to get some deeper insights. The live exam approach will include some results and some final notes, some notes on those aspects. So back to me here, and let's get started with the article reading. Okay. And throughout, I'll be showing also some larger maps and book. Okay. So the article is published in my Medium publication, and here's the introduction. This is an article about my study process for passing the CompTIA Security Plus SYO 601 exam in order to obtain the certification. That numerical part here is important because they already have the 701, and every few years they update the certification, and it just gently advances as the world does also, and people. Okay, so first, the study time frame. I studied at a personal pace of excitement for about 4 to 8 hours per day. From 4 to 8 hours for about 1 month, making sure I understood the relationships of the complexities of the content and that I did so in a healthy way. And I enjoyed studying in my backyard over the summer to balance the computer time with physically feeling good. Next, I practiced through reviews and test questions for a couple of weeks. The final week was an intense, complete, rapid review. At this point, there was nothing new in any of the content. The last couple of days were even more rapid and intense, and on the final day I spent a few hours at the exam test center in a public lunch place, rapidly reviewing everything. And just to note, that day was when in the Canadian capital Canadian capital, I don't know why I said culture there, when the Ukrainian president was visiting and had the famous national security event happen. So exactly during that event was exactly the time I was writing this exam. So, the study materials. My primary study materials were the two complementary books made up of the study guide and the practice questions. Let me show you the book. Here it is. It's a giant study guide. It's got many pages. You can see all the markers. So there's also a thick test guide with questions, almost as thick as this that I used, and I went through the whole thing. So I did read every page, and I did all the review questions at the end of each chapter. And what kept me going is actually I was really excited. I was excited about figuring out all the parts that were genuinely thrilling to me, like seeing how they come together, how the chapters are put together, how the knowledge is put together. It was really exciting because it allowed me to filter what's the parts that I'm not interested in and the parts that I'm interested in. So that allows me to precisely pinpoint, for example, web application security testing and bug bounty hunting which was only a tiny part of this whole book, but the placement of that within the book, so within the foundational information security content out there that is recognized as being genuine, it was really fascinating to see where my knowledge and specialization lies. It was like a breathtaking view. It was like, that's where I am. That's how to talk to others professionally about this, and that's how I can, through my own understanding of everything, explain it to others where it's situated. And even tables of contents like this help me create my own mind maps, which I'll show in a moment. Right, so back to the article here. So those 2 books I got for $90 on Amazon. The online flashcards and practice questions, which come with the books, as well as the LinkedIn Learning video series. They're free through local library card logins. And a shout out to Wiley Cybex and Mike Chappell and David Seidel for being amazing in their work with the content. A few other small items were also useful. These included an audio review, which is free, a glossary, which is free, and an acronyms list, also free. There's a tremendous amount of acronyms. So those are like the 2 letters, 3 letters, 4 letters, maybe even 5-letter words. There's probably 100 of them that you do need to know. Yeah, and actually like 100 of them. And but they begin to make sense once you see which ones are used over and over, and how they combine together. As well as a quick summary, right, which I bought for $10. The study guide is about 500 pages with a couple hundred review questions. There are about 800 practice questions in the book, over 200 flashcards, and a couple hundred online practice questions. And here what I'm showing visually here is the scan of one of the maps that I made. So I would be making technical maps of the interrelations of things, which I later made even better. Now I'm going to pause again for actually I don't have to pause. I'm just going to move my chair over and grab one map just to show you that I have this map and another one here continually with me wherever I go, and I use them to look things up. Right. So there's 2 maps of that size. And here's the other. And what's so useful about these? I can quickly place any topic and see how it relates to others, because I use special color coding on these maps. On certain ones, maybe not the one I'm right. So I need to show my bigger self here on screen, right? So I'm not able to move this closer. It's not about zooming in onto the details. It's just about seeing the craziness. I mean, it looks crazy from far away. It looks like a bunch of millions of letters and words and colors. Now, yeah, there's a significance of putting it all in one place, is because to be able to glance from one spot to another and to quickly see the interrelations and if there are any. And but the mind does most of the work. This is more, I studied new media and even telecommunications, but more so in new media and experimental digital art, and the study of perception, foundations of psychology in that, and especially in motion pictures and all this. And I understand at depth how memory works. That doesn't mean I have a good memory. I actually don't have a good memory, but I have certain other powers that allow me to, so not having a good memory actually allows me to, I have enhanced other powers, such as abstract ability to quickly interrelate things that might have no relations to others, or when your knowledge is kept in memory, it's a more of a solid, unmovable foundation, but I find that I have a more liquid foundation that is accessed, that I access very differently than a lot of people, and I think that is a special trait in security that I still hope to use in greater ways. Now, but just to show you that I have a folder in front of me here that I'm about to show with another map. This folder has various maps, but they're called, they're my top cybersecurity maps. That's the little title on the folder. And what I'm showing here now is one small A4 page, American size, because the Europeans are different. And the title is The Complete Map of Interrelation of Chapters in the Entire Book. And I only have maybe 25 words here. And I love this map that I made. It came out after I slept on the material for possibly a month. So a month later, when I understood that at the top, for example. Actually, I'll show this, on my through my little camera here. We'll quickly go through this here. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So this is a smaller map. That's why I can show it here, because the other bigger ones, I don't have cameras set up for them. So you see that I mapped the whole book, and I don't have this in the online article, but at least I don't think I do. The security professional, I believe, it has its own chapters, like chapter 1 here. But the frameworks are actually, what does it say here, are in chapter 16, but I believe they should be right below the top. So like policies, procedures, and standards and guidelines. And then to the left and to the right, you have two sections. On one side, we have cybersecurity threat landscape, which I believe should be presented. It's usually, I believe it says number 2 here. And then social engineering, which is the people side, and the malicious code, which is the people inside the software. But those are, you see how that's chapter 9, and that's whatever that says chapter 3, I believe. So I've organized these chapters in the way that they make sense to me in my mental model of the concepts, whereas the book presents them in a different order, different sequence. And I found that it made sense because I believe they were going from, they had their own sense to it. But if I was to, I think the front of the book should have a map like this to tell everyone how these chapters interrelate. Otherwise, you have to make this interrelation yourself. And I believe this is a universal interrelation here. So on the other side, you had risk management and privacy there, and why this all matters, right? But that is covered only in chapter 17. So this map, I believe that everything comes together through cryptography, which is mentioned in chapter 7, I believe there. And I have cryptography in pink because it almost like links the top of all these chapters I just mentioned with the next entire section of chapters, and then finally at the end you have something else, which I'll get to in a second. So cryptography, after all these, links endpoint security, chapter 11, links network security, chapter 12, and cloud virtualization and security, 10. So below network security, you have wireless, mobile, and below endpoint security, which is about the boot and the OS, I put that you have resilience and identity and access management, so IAM, which is like the human aspect. And so, but below all this, we have secure coding. And, right, so we're still going from the general thing is like security professional and all those things. And then you have through cryptography, you enable all these giant technological feats. And then, but only then you get into the secure coding. And our, my specialization, offensive security assessment and testing, and then adversarial AI below that, is only one side and below the secure coding, and right, because that's the offensive side. But the book is mostly about the defensive, such as incident response and digital forensics. Those are chapter 14, 15, respectively, and so on. And so this is my mapping of the book and the placement of my specialization within it. And that is how I, so this is about the understanding. This is how I formed the understanding of it, and I understand where I'm in it. And everyone should understand where they're in it, not just randomly memorize things. Okay, so back to the article. Let's see if we can get ahead here with, So I was showing them one of the maps. Okay. So the main objective for studying, my main one, is to create understanding of the relationships of the material. This means I tried to create one single mind map of the entire field of Security Plus. By doing so, I can connect any one topic to other topics, or immediately see the place of one aspect in the entire field of security. I can also add or subtract any aspect and understand why I'm doing so. I succeeded in doing this onto 2 large format papers and several smaller sheets. In the future, I could make one map, but I would most likely do it in VR, as I've done in the past, as documented in previous articles. And visually here, I'm showing a close-up of a photograph of one of the mind maps. You see I use different colors, and I read it quickly in my own quick handwriting. Yeah, because like designing word per word in virtual reality is you have to make 3D versions of every word and move it around, and that's a whole other work. I've never been paid for that or anything actually, and so as I record this, I have yet to be paid in security for anything. So the main book, right, is this subtitle here, and here we go. So at first, with 20% of effort for 80% of the work, I simply read the study guide. Yeah, just read the study guide, right? And by the way, as I was saying that I'm studying for this exam, on LinkedIn, there was people mailing me about buying the certificate off of them. Obviously, right, through like that. My mind doesn't even go there. Like, I actually want to know this. So I'm not a part of the people who just want a certificate and they don't actually care. And they just want a job anywhere for any reason. I'd like to work for the right people, working for the right aims, with the right technologies, at the right time, the right place. So I would highlight any obvious highlights. I would mark any parts to return to that would require obvious lengthy investigation. And there is no need to go into any deep dives on a first read. So do the review questions after each chapter to see what was retained. Use bookmark tabs to mark points of reference that will be interesting to actually pursue at some point professionally, and to bookmark in the body of knowledge collection in browser bookmarks. After reading the entire book, skim through the obvious main aspects and map on a large format paper using keywords into a mind map. I use 2 such large sheets, and there's a picture of just the book and the markers. Online audio, these are the chapter summaries from the book. Good to listen to and imagine the concepts as they relate. Yeah, I would close my eyes and relax and listen to the audio of some of the chapters. And things formed differently then in my mind, but I was already re-listening to the material and putting it together in a new way, or even as it was stated through sound, I would try to hear what the next statement might be through my firstly read understanding of it. So the test book, this was my personal favorite assistance. These are so well written that they often add new knowledge not in other sources, right? So the test book actually contained material not even from the main book. So do 20 questions each, 1 chapter at a time, and check with answers, scoring yourself until you reach 100 questions per section. Then you get a score out of 100 to tell you where you're at, your general aptitude. My scores were between 65 to 85 after 100 questions per chapter. Then continue with questions until you answer 150 questions per each of the 5 sections. Some sections may have many more questions. At this point, simply read the answers at the back for any information from each question that adds new knowledge. Right, so this is, I'm showing visually here the cover of the practice tests book. Okay, and online flashcards and test questions. The publisher has an online study database of over 200 flashcards and 250 practice questions formatted as practice tests and quizzes. I used this on my smartphone and was able to sit anywhere outside in the summer and study. The flashcards are most challenging as they often ask for greater detailed lists from memory. The questions are timed and can be sorted based on level of difficulty, chapters, and other attributes. The downloadable PDFs now. The co-author has a page with downloadables, for example, a cheat sheet PDF. You may also find a glossary and acronyms list for download. And next, the video. Using my local library card, I logged into the LinkedIn Learning platform to gain free access to the author's video series for this exam. This was a good compliment after reading the study guide, because then I could play most of the videos at twice the speed and still understand them. The videos do contain extra information to complement the book, as much as the book contains complementary information for the videos. The ChatGPT-4 paid version, any extra information that I needed, I asked Learned Machine to clarify for me. Treating this as if it can be completely wrong is helpful. The live exam approach. So there are about 80 questions. There is 90 minutes for the exam. You can do it at home, but I did my exam at a specialized designated location, driving distance, because I prefer for the security to be completed by outside management, and it helps me focus. There's a certain speed that must be maintained. It is about $4 US per minute to take the exam. That's not how it's calculated, but I just did the math, and for 90 minutes, it's about $400. So there are no retakes and no refunds. Reading and comprehension at high speed, combined with the need to respond and select the best possible answer in an intelligent way, remained a challenge for at least half of the questions for me. It was seriously challenging. After the first half hour, I did not think I was going to pass. But I knew I had to do the best that I can, so I continued. The best way I could describe this was to try and resonate with the general size of the question first. I'm going to read that again. That was very important. Try and resonate. So be there with the general question, the size of the question. Just even at first, just glance at the question. Just look at the size of it. Do not read or try to mentally calculate anything or remember anything. Just look at the question. Then kind of quickly look at the question and all the words in general to see what it's about. And then try to, well, let's see if I describe this. Yeah, I probably describe it in the writing instead of saying it. So if it is too large to do fast, flag it and skip to the next question. If the question is short but difficult, flag it and do not yet answer. These unanswered questions will be returned to first upon the second skim. For the first round, answer all the questions as fast as possible. Right, so if I didn't see mentally where the question lies on my mappings in my mental model, I would skip it as least as I could. After resonating with the size of the question, resonate with the words as you read them. Right, so yeah, this is what I mean by going into the details. So see if you understand the words themselves, then the phrases, so the combinations of the words and putting the words together, then the sentences, and then feel the entire question by holding to its understanding. So if you understand the question, you don't necessarily have to know the answer, just understand the question first, because then you can choose the answers or the best answers. And by having practiced and read and mapped, sometimes you will feel the right answer, even if you don't fully 100% understand everything with great clarity. Yeah, the point is to do your best. Yeah. So then quickly skim the answers to see which are obviously not a right answer. Only then try to match the resonance of the question with the right answer. There are often multiple right answers, and you have to choose the best one. The reason why it is essential to align with the words from the question is because the best answer often relates to one single word in the question. Right. The questions would be worded, or the answers would be created in such a way that, you'd have to go deeper and deeper intentionally. It's the way security works. Sometimes there would be multiple right answers, but So all of them even would resonate and feel right. And so then you would have to force yourself or use the power of your map, of your mental model of the concepts to really circle the closest detail or the actual detail. It doesn't mean calculating it in a mathematical way. So, right, because the answer often relates to one single word in the question, right? So sometimes the answer, right, so sometimes you would have to understand actually a particular word in the question a certain way to be able to filter out the right answer. That is why understanding the question on the level of words, then sentences, or rather the words, then phrases. I would even say the letters, probably in some of the questions. Letters, words, phrases, sentences, and the whole language construction. I personally believe that language plays a big role in information security, cybersecurity, web application security testing. Big role. I mean, coding itself, software development is a language development as well. So at this point, after so much studying, do not second guess. Just place an answer and be confident that it is the right answer. I have to say I second guessed quite a bit there, though. The second skim is to answer all unanswered questions, then all the flagged ones. Do not leave unanswered questions if they do not resonate at all. Do not leave unanswered questions if they do not resonate at all. Answer these by guessing. I had one or two questions that I had not come across at all in all my studies. These might have been inserted at random by the test creators. Yeah, I later learned that there are a couple of questions that can be inserted by the test creators at random about things that are totally unrelated or do not exist in the actual study guide or elsewhere. What's this? Right, I'm showing visually here that this is my rapid review notes made in the hours before the exam on the same day. It helps my memory to write concepts, right? Not going to get into the details of that, but this is a sheet I remember reading after having some lunch with a few hours to go at the at the public space where the test center is. Final notes. Cybersecurity is more complex than ever and increasingly so. It felt as if I was being tested in everything from organizational governance to technical implementation to adversarial thinking to software architecture, risk assessments, and incident response. These are often separate career paths with multitudes of specialized branches in each one of those categories. I do not want to be working with most of these aspects professionally. As a penetration tester, this would take several lifetimes. But the knowledge is certainly helpful. It all points to the fact that one needs to work in a team, or at least in collaboration with increasingly powerful learned machines. A lot of the advanced knowledge seems to come from experiences of professionals at enterprise levels of major organizations. I would add and military and transnational paramilitary. I often wondered how much of it all is applicable to individual best practices, even on a personal level. Personal outside of security circles, but in personal security. Exam results. I passed the exam with greatly focused difficulty and nearly obtained a score of about 90%. I could have gotten higher if not for my psychological profile and unnecessary focus on a few questions for too long. I was emotional for hours after this experience, but treated myself well for the next few days. My life depended on the results. Next plans. The Security Plus knowledge helps me understand the power I'm up against as a bug bounty hunter or penetration tester when I work through various adversarial tactics and techniques. For example, by an SOC team at an organization. My intention now is to connect with the right employment in cybersecurity, most likely as an SOC analyst level 1 or as a penetration tester. I would say, though, also as just a freelancer bug bounty hunter, at least part-time. If I make it to full-time, that would be quite interesting. That is apparently quite a challenging feat. As I do this, I plan to immediately begin applying aspects of what I learned in my own life and in my business practices. I will also be pursuing a bug bounty hunting learning path in the direction of pen testing and red teaming. The future. The CompTIA Security Plus certification needs to be renewed every 3 years, but this can be done in many ways, including by simply working in the industry, taking complementary certifications, and being involved in the local cybersecurity community. Personal notes now. I'm very excited about cybersecurity because I can see it whiz through my hands. It is not some mental computer game played by nerds without a sense of reality. It is exactly the opposite. It is reality playing the majority of people into desensitized nerds. To me, it is more exciting than playing heavy metal guitar or watching a 3D movie at the theater. I have done all of these things extensively. Although I'd say I'd still enjoy playing heavy metal or freestyle acoustic guitar. I like detuning the guitar and watching a 3D movie at the theater. I have all sorts of interests like that. I mean, downhill skiing and so on, and nature. Well, when I wrote this, I just meant that hacking can be exciting. If you really just follow the path of excitement in it, that works for you. So I have completed university and some college. I have unique psychological traits. I also completed 20 years of work already and certifications in various other fields. And this was on par with challenging advanced intellectual testing I had done previously. I felt that this testing in Security Plus, CompTIA, was possibly at a master's level of self-education. For me anyways. So what does the certification help a bug bounty hunter learn? Mostly how valuable organizations design their security and what they know that I know as a white hat hacker. I need to know the web app stuff of network security and penetration testing. I need to be able to get around it all. For example, load balancers, IPS, firewalls, routes, anti-forensics, and so on. Now after the exam, I know what I don't know. It's much more than what I do know. However, all it takes for adversarial success is one weakness to exploit. Also, perhaps more importantly, through the self-assurance of the mainstream cybersecurity industry, through what they do not teach, I can be more certain of what I know outside of contemporary knowledge. I have been inspired to create my own security lab setup for personal use with and without any technology. I think that the language of Security Plus establishes a powerful international baseline for any line of work. It might be that incident responders and threat hunters will be the only jobs for humans in one view of the near future. And this is a good way to get started as early as possible. Well, I hope that this episode brought some clarification as to how to study for CompTIA Security Plus. I do recommend the materials that I had to do this. So even if one is into technology and is a nerd and enjoys computers and learning through computers, I mean, physically holding a book, you have to be conscious of the weight. You can have a sense of the scent of the pages, the fact that you're writing in something physical, and the fact that you can quickly also look it up in a book. It helps your memory and understanding in a different, more human, more physical way, and I think that's important, actually. That's what I meant by downhill skiing and playing guitar. It's like that part of the world actually should be more exciting than the virtual realm, because as a security professional in cyberspace, I will be, and one will be, and you will be sitting or having your mind interact with digital goods and assets, and the security that is often not in moist reality, it's in virtual reality. It's good to have a grounding for the sake of personal health and being a better security professional in the real physical world. that has a spiritual component to it as well. So if you enjoy this podcast and this episode, feel free to tune into BitcoinSecurityMaps.com, where we'll be continuing these topics in relation to Bitcoin. I'm just going to show the map here of the article one last time. So these are the topics we went through. This was more of a professional, as I'm showing here, a professional kind of objective with this. It's professional refinement is the sub-series within the local intelligence series. So with this mapping, you can overlay it onto other real-world mappings. And remember to offer your support through the Fountain.fm app, through which you can stream Satoshis, so Bitcoin. And I use my my knowledge of public key cryptography, through which I created a NOSTR protocol private key, and I publish through the NOSTR clients there, and you can offer support there and contact me through that means as well. And I'm looking forward to this, and I'll see you at the meetups.